Rex.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Nebraskan Show. I'm still fixing my camera, so that's why it took me a little bit longer. There we go. There's me. Yeah, this is the Daily Nebraskan Show. I'm Ben Droz, joined here by Anthony Rubik, one of the assistant sports editors here at the Daily Nebraskan. Anthony, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Had a nice night off last night with Joseph on the show, and I'm just happy to be back to it.
Yeah, definitely. Last night's show went really good. You know, we had the regular ticket crew didn't do the post game, so we kind of served a little bit as the post game, and that was a really fun show. So hopefully we can, keep it going today. We're not going to talk as much men's basketball today. I mean, I guess not as much specific Husker men's basketball. Today we kind of want to go. So Anthony every week posts Big Ten rankings, kind of power rankings for men's basketball. So we kind of want to dive into that, for most of the show today. Really just kind of ranking all the teams, where we see what teams, kind of tiers for teams, maybe we can talk about a little bit. So we kind of want to jump into that a little bit later. But first off, since Anthony didn't get to be here yesterday, I kind of want to get his thoughts on the Ohio State game first. Anthony, what was kind of your main takeaways or key moments from yesterday's game?
Rank mass.
Yes.
That's all.
Not Casey Tominaga. He did not grow.
It was just an outstanding game from him. Obviously, he had a rough stretch of games. Mm-hmm. I was especially critical of his Rutgers game.
Yeah.
It was a rough game. Obviously, Nebraska got dominated on the boards. Frank Mass didn't do as much on the offensive end as well. Just a bad loss for Nebraska. But man, what a night for him. Just a career performance. 34 points, 10 rebounds, 6 3-pointers. It was just fun to watch. Every time he got the ball, it was just the crowd was into it. The crowd was yelling his name. And every time he pulled up for three, you just felt like it was going to go in because it was. Yeah. It was just wild. And of course,
6 for 8.
Yeah. And of course, it's not just Rank Mass. It's the whole team. It was a great game for Nebraska. CJ Wilcher continues to be that spark off the bench. Mm-hmm. And then they did a great job on defense, I thought. Ohio State, they had a little bit of a run in the first half, got up to a 9-point lead, started to get a little nervous there for Nebraska, but Nebraska was able to come back and really hold them in check for the rest of the game.
Yeah, Ohio State had a 9-point lead early in that first half, but once Nebraska took that lead, they never looked back, never gave it up after that point. Just complete domination. At first, Moss was, just pulling up for three, pulling up from deep, making every single shot imaginable. And then towards the end of the game, he was just pounding it down low, and Ohio State just had no answer for him. It was really nice to see that. I mean, it was also another game, kind of one of the first games this year where we didn't really need Casey Tominaga.
Oh, yeah.
Casey Tominaga was not really needed as much as he usually is, which was kind of a nice thing to see that Joseph kind of pointed out last night. My big thing from last night was, obviously it was a nice win. It's nice to pick up wins like that. I didn't really learn too much about the team, just because we've seen them perform like this at home. We know who they are at home. I want to see them do it on the road. But I was very pleased, A, with the defensive effort, and B, we did not turn the ball over very much. After 18 turnovers against Northwestern, although we still won that game somehow, it was still 18 turnovers. We only had 6 last night.
Yeah, it was just a great bounce back game. As you mentioned, the Northwestern game, it was just sloppy basketball all over. The ball was going all over the place. Here against Ohio State, it was like kind of a rare thing where Bryce Williams had a bad pass every once in a while. Jamarcus Lawrence might have had a turnover, but that kind of like stood out for me. But that's just because there wasn't any before that. It was
Yeah.
just the 6 turnovers, very complete game. They had 19 assists to go with that, so they were also just being productive with their passes.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great game to see. And yeah, Keisei Tominaga only played 14 minutes, the least amount out of any player on Nebraska.
Yeah.
Even Eli Rice, who kind of doesn't see that much minutes. It varies by game. He even got to see 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
He played good in those 15 minutes. So yeah, obviously Keisei Tominaga last year, if Keisei Tominaga didn't have a good game, Nebraska wasn't going to win the game.
Mm-mm.
And now we just see with guys like Mass, Bryce Williams, CJ Wilcher, anyone is able to step up on any given night. We don't have to rely all on one guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a deeper team. It's a more experienced team, not just forcing it to one guy. I mean, last night we were wanting to get to Moz, obviously, because he was hot. But a lot of times you never know on any given night who's going to be the big bucket getter for Nebraska. A lot of the time it's Keisei Tominaga, but sometimes it's Bryce Williams, sometimes it's Rank Most. Against Northwestern, it was Alec. Not something
nowhere.
I would have expected.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's just so many different guys that can get hot at different moments. And that's kind of one of the nice things about this team is that they're just so deep. They're so experienced. And Fred seems to have the pulse right on this team. But like I said before, and what Moss said post-game, they got to get it done on the road.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, a big game coming this weekend at Maryland. Maryland just got a great win tonight against Iowa on the road. We'll talk more about that game later when we go through kind of the power rankings. But Maryland, they're a sneaky team right now. Obviously, they started out the season pretty cold. Didn't have the best start despite all the talent on their team. But they're really starting to get going now. They've had some close losses in the past week, and they've had some good wins. So it will definitely be a challenge on the road. And Nebraska really just hopes to have a performance they had against Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, Maryland's going to be a big game this weekend. Hopefully that can be the first conference road win that we can get. But then again, everyone in the Big Ten has been struggling on the road. It's kind of been a slaughter fest in the Big Ten. So that's why I'm really interested to see how you are going to be ranking these teams. So first of all, the article is not out yet.
Yep, it is going to be coming out Friday morning. Make sure to check it out. It'll be going in depth, just like how we are here, but going to be some more stuff about it. Also, go ahead, check out my old rankings, see how bad I was at the start of the year. I remember my first power rankings, I had Iowa at 14. They're a
little bit higher now.
Yeah, just a little bit, but it's been a fun task. It's a lot of work. I did not expect it to be that much work, surprisingly, even though I have to write about 14 basketball teams and watch 14 basketball teams.
It's going to be more next year.
Oh yeah, the 18 teams now or later. But but it's been really cool just seeing how these teams can go on runs. Obviously, basketball is a game of runs in itself, but even across the season, just there's teams where I was not high on earlier, and now I can really see them as a team that can really be dangerous in conference play.
Yeah, again, if you want to get on the text line before we get in this, text line is open 402-464-5685. We want to hear your thoughts. You can also comment on the streams. You're streaming YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch, and also ALO 961, but you can't comment on that. So, without further ado, let's get into it. I want to start bottom top just to make it a little bit, who's going to be the top team? Ooh. I don't know.
All right.
I have a feeling who the bottom team's going to be. If I had to guess, but I want you to say it.
All right. 14th team in my Big Ten power rankings. Woo. Same as last week, same as the week before that, probably the same as the week before that. It's the Michigan Wolverines.
Yeah, what an ugly year it's been for them.
It has just been brutal. I mean, they're 7-12 right now, 2-6 in the Big Ten, lost 7 out of their last 8. It has just not been the year that Michigan wanted. Kind of sold their soul for that college football national championship, really.
Yeah. I mean, Michigan had a pretty decent run in the March. It was a couple years ago when they had Wagner on their team. But yeah, this year it's just not been the same. They're one of just 2 teams in the Big Ten, I believe, with a losing record. Penn State also has a losing record last time I
Yep.
checked. Yeah, definitely been a rough year for the Michigan Wolverines. What about 13?
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that had Nebraska's number last week, but I'm still not very impressed with them. I just think that game was kind of more of a fluke, especially seeing Nebraska's struggles against on the road all year long. It's the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. I think they have been playing better, I would say, than they were just a little bit ago, but they're still not perfect. They played Illinois this week, which obviously Illinois is one of the top teams in the Big Ten. They're ranked in the top 10. Lost tonight to Northwestern, so that was a big game. But they were able to cut the lead to 5 in the second half. But then Illinois just completely took over. Ended up winning by, I think, 20. Definitely double digits. So yeah, Rutgers, they're just a team that in the past like 3-4 years, they made a few tournament appearances. They made a few NIT tournaments, but this is just not a year where they're going to be seeing any postseason play past the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, I mean, Rutgers always, I feel like, in March always kind of seems like a sneaky team to pick when I'm doing my brackets. Ooh, Rutgers, never know. But this year, definitely not the same case. I'm a little surprised you had them below Penn State, but I'm assuming Penn State's going to be coming up here pretty soon.
Yeah.
This is why the Rutgers loss outside of the Minnesota game is probably the worst loss of the season. It might even be worse than the Minnesota game. Because, Minnesota, that was a meltdown. Yeah, it was tough to see that. But against Rutgers, that was by far, in my opinion, the worst performance so far this year from Nebraska basketball, in my opinion. Just completely outclassed on the boards, couldn't shoot the ball, turning it over quite a bit. It was just an ugly game from start to finish.
Oh, yeah. I agree. I think that Rutgers game was Nebraska's worst loss of the year. I mean, you mentioned it. They had multiple double-digit leads in both half, and they couldn't pull out of either of them. They couldn't get ahead of that. It was a game that was probably the most upset I've been after a Nebraska game, especially just going after this was after the Purdue game. So you knew what this team is capable of, and they just weren't able to show it.
Did you cover that game for the site?
I did not cover the Rutgers game.
I know. I was like, I couldn't remember if I did the gamer or takeaways. I must have done the gamer. That was a rough one to have to write after. I just typed it up really fast. God, I was like, I don't even want to think about this game anymore. I just want to put it to the back burner. But then we had to talk about it on Saturday, so had to jog my memory again. Let's keep it going. Who you got next?
Yeah, I got Penn State next at 12. I think, like you said, you could argue that Rutgers is probably the better team than Penn State, but I just kind of
have a better conference. They do have a better conference record.
I just respect Penn State right now. I feel like they're doing more with less. I mentioned this on last episode. I feel like Penn State, out of all the Big Ten teams, kind of has the lowest ceiling right now. Their entire starting 5 from their NCAA tournament team last year is gone. So that was
they had a pretty good run.
Oh yeah, they went from when Nebraska beat them last February, it was kind of like thinking they're done. They're out of the picture.
Yeah, that was a big win for Nebraska last year.
Then they go on a run in the Big Ten tournament, make it to the final, I believe, lose to Purdue there, make the tournament, win a game there. So yeah, it was a great Penn State team. This year, they just didn't have that much returning. They got Ace Baldwin Jr. as a transfer from VCU, but he has just been very inconsistent. Kanye Clary, their sophomore guard, he has really taken a big step up. I think he's an all Big Ten caliber player. I hope he gets that recognition at the end of the year because Penn State is definitely going to be one of these bottom teams in the conference. They got a nice win against Wisconsin last week, which kind of had them initially moved up over Rutgers. And that was because Kanye Clary had a great game. So did Ace Baldwin. When Ace Baldwin is on, this Nittany Lions team is actually dangerous, but it's just a matter of if he will be on.
Yeah.
And then this past week, Kanye Clary finished with 13 points in a loss to Ohio State. That was his lowest output since the early December. And that kind of just proved that that kind of just had Penn State's work cut out for them in that game. So it's a team that I admire them. I think that they're going to pull off a few more wins that a lot of people aren't going to expect them to get in this conference play. But yeah, for right now, they're my 12.
Yeah, Penn State just one of 2 Big Ten teams with a losing record, which is honestly kind of impressive for the Big Ten conference. But then you look, we're not, it's Purdue, Wisconsin, Illinois. Then it kind of falls off after that a little bit. Nebraska, Northwestern in the Big Ten tournament hunt. Michigan State, Indiana, Maryland. It's just a little whatever. But yeah, Penn State's a little bit of a, I don't know if frisky is the right word, but a team that I would be less disappointed with losing to Penn State than Rutgers, in my opinion. I guess it was just the way. I feel like it's the way that you would lose to Penn State, and then the way you would lose to Rutgers. The way you lose to Rutgers is you shoot like crap, you play like crap, and you don't rebound. Against Penn State, if they get a little bit hot from the 3-point line and you don't hit your shots, that's going to happen. Kind of in a similar fashion to Iowa. Just they're not quite Iowa.
Oh yeah.
Who do you got next?
Next at number 11, I got Minnesota.
All right.
They were a team that obviously they struggled immensely in Big Ten play last year. And not only Big Ten play, just all season last year. It was a bad season for them. Got that upset over Nebraska in the Big Ten tournament. That I think if Nebraska wins that game, I think they make the NIT tournament at least. I mean,
maybe.
They obviously it was a long shot for them to make the NCAA tournament, but just how hot they have been at that moment. The NIT tends to favor hot teams. That loss to Minnesota really just closed the door on any chance of that. So they responded this year kind of with a Nebraska route. They scheduled a very easy non-conference slate.
Yeah, so made their record look pretty good. But if you watch the games.
Yeah, exactly. And then they started off Big Ten play. Obviously, they had that win against Nebraska. They started off 3-1. But since then, they've lost 4 in a row. They're 3-5 in the Big Ten now. And it was a very tough loss in their last game to Wisconsin. They were the home team, so the home crowd had their back. They were down 10 at one point, battled all the way back, only for Mike Mitchell Jr. They were down 2 with less than 5 seconds remaining. He's at the free throw line. He has to miss this one. Misses it, gets his own rebound, gets an open look, gets a good opportunity, hits the backboard, hits the rim, just doesn't fall through. Tough loss for Minnesota. That could have really helped them shake things off and maybe even warranted them a spot up on these rankings. But
yeah, it's crazy how one game can dictate a lot of these rankings.
Oh yeah. It's also just very hard because you mentioned earlier how there's not
it's
many
bloodbath.
Yeah, there's only 2 teams with a losing record. There's teams that can beat any team on any given night. It's really just hard to kind of differentiate, how is this team that better than another team? I
mean, yeah, a lot of them have ugly losses. A lot of them have, pretty good resume wins. So it's not like, oh, this team beat, a lot of good teams. But I mean, like they all kind of have the same caliber of resume wins. A lot of these teams, in my opinion, all have ugly losses. So yeah, it's a little bit tough. So that's why I was interested. I want you to let me know when you start where the line is of teams you're okay, this team can make NCAA tournament. I want you to let me know when you get there. But keep it going. Who do you got next?
Yeah, so I say these bottom 4 teams are kind of the teams that
don't really have much.
Yeah, they don't really have a shot. I think maybe if Minnesota is able to get hot again, maybe go on a little run, they could make a push for an NIT tournament or something like that. Okay. But
yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah, but this next team in number 10 is a team that's really just on this cold streak. It's the team Nebraska beat the other night. It's Ohio State.
Yep.
I think
I like where they are.
It's just so hard to kind of just deeply digest how underwhelming Ohio State has been these last couple weeks. I mean, go back a month, even go back 2 weeks. Ohio State may be a tournament team. They're either in the field as like a 7, 8, 9 seed, or at least on the bubble. But right now, they're just not looking good. They've lost 3 out of their last 4. Their only win is over Penn State in those games. And they haven't won a road game since January 1st, 2023.
That's
over
crazy.
A year.
That's crazy to me. I mean, that was, again, another reason why I was confident going into Nebraska's last game. But we just got text on the text line saying bump Minnesota up at least 3. I think that size can really bother anyone if they force a bad shooting night. I do agree that they could definitely be higher. I wouldn't argue against it if you would put them above Ohio State, especially after Ohio State playing against Nebraska. But 3 is a little generous to me. I definitely can see them being, 9, maybe
Yeah.
8, but
Looking
Yeah.
at it right now, I think that Minnesota has an argument over Ohio State, and then they have an argument over my next team at 9, I think.
who's that?
That is Indiana.
Okay, yeah. I definitely could see an argument over
I
those,
could
but I
see it.
think after that, I would draw the line. I wouldn't put them above any of those other
Mhm.
teams. But let's now jump into Indiana, one of the teams Nebraska was able to beat at
Yep.
home.
Yeah, that was one of the many games that if Indiana wins, their season could be going completely different now.
Mhm.
They're just such an interesting team. Going into the year, especially in non-conference play, they played Kansas very close at home. Kansas barely won that game. Guys like Khalil Ware, obviously a big impact transfer, but they just have not won the games that matter. They're 12-7
Mm-mm.
right now, 4-4 in the Big Ten, and they're on the losing end of every game against a good team. I mean,
Yeah.
this has been a tough stretch for them too. They've had 3 games in a row now against the 3 ranked teams in the Big Ten. They played Purdue, lost to them, played Wisconsin, lost to them. They have a chance against Illinois, but it's on the road. So who knows if they're going to be able to
Mhm.
cap that off. It's tough seeing this team. It's very interesting. I'm looking at metrics now. I know, say what you will about those. I like some more than others, but
Mhm.
Ken Palm and the NET rankings, they're ranked 13 out of 14th in the Big Ten, which is just very
Yeah.
surprising. Like schools like Michigan are higher than them in those metrics.
Just crazy.
So this is just a team that right now, this is kind of the tier where I'm not saying NCAA tournament. I'm talking NIT here,
Yeah.
which I think they're falling out very quickly though.
I mean, to give them a break, they are in a 3-game stretch now where they're going to be playing 3 ranked
Yep.
teams in a row, and not just ranked teams, all Big Ten ranked teams that are all in the top 15. They played
Mhm.
Purdue, played Wisconsin, now have Illinois coming up on Saturday. So definitely a tough stretch for Indiana. I definitely feel like Minnesota could have been above Indiana. This is kind of a dead zone where it's like, Indiana beat Minnesota earlier in the year, beat Ohio State, but, they lost to Rutgers. It's
Mhm.
like, it's really hard to rank these teams because they've just been, every Big Ten team kind of in this range has just been slaughtering each other.
Oh yeah, it's just very hard to really see if there's any teams that are that better than the rest. They're all kind of the same right now. I feel like it's really just a very competitive conference. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if this is quite frankly the best year of Big Ten basketball. Like,
I wouldn't say that by a long
yeah,
shot.
I don't think they're like a super strong conference, but they do have a lot of teams that are very equal to each other, which leads to
Mhm.
some very, very fun basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't even imagine, next year, it's just going to be even more complicated trying to rank these teams. You're
Oh,
bringing
yeah.
in the UCLAs, the USCs, teams that it seems like year in, year out make the Big Ten tournament. And some of them, UCLA most recently made a pretty big run in the tournament.
Mhm.
Who do you got next?
All right. These next 2 teams, they play tonight. So I'm going to kind of group them together. They played against each other. At number 8, I have Iowa. And number 7, I have Maryland.
All right.
This is really kind of 2 different teams right now, or like kind of where they're at. Iowa went on a nice 3-game win streak. They beat Nebraska, obviously. They started out conference play 0-3. Then they had those nice 3 wins. Played Purdue at home, but they weren't able to upset them. Lost by 14. And then the Maryland game tonight, which I'm very impressed with Maryland right now. They had
Yeah, I agree with you having them above Iowa.
they had a rough start to the year, but they had the top. They had guys like Jameer Young, Julian Reese, Dante Scott. They had these returners from last year that, while even last year they kind of ended not the way they wanted to. It was a slow start, but they're starting to catch up now. One thing I've noticed about Maryland is they've just been very unlucky at times. They've had 5 losses by less than 3 points
Yeah.
this season, leads the country in that. They're able to get a 2-point win tonight because of Jameer Young, who is just he is Maryland, I think. Without
Yeah.
him, Maryland is not even close in any of these contests. He's having a great season. I was a transfer, last year, had a good year, was inconsistent at times, but he has really stepped up and really carried the load a lot this year. Julian Reese has had his share of off nights, but Jameer Young, he had a chance at Michigan State this past Sunday, scored their last 5 points, I think, in that game, had a chance to tie or win it at the end, get stripped. And then it was the exact same thing at Iowa. This time he's able to finish it off, scores their last 8 points, 2 3-pointers, and then a nice left-handed finish with 1.5 seconds left. These two teams, I think right now, because Iowa's actually ranked very favorably in like Ken Palm, NET rankings. They're ranked around the same as Nebraska, surprisingly.
Yeah, I mean, they can get Hoff in a 3-point line on any given night, which, makes them a dangerous team. But then again, I don't feel like, throughout a stretch of a season, Iowa's going to be as good as a team like Nebraska. And I think it's showing this year, I mean, again, Nebraska, they have 4 more wins than Iowa this year so far. So, I mean, this is why a lot of times I don't agree with those rankings, but I definitely agree with Maryland above Iowa, which this is why I'm very excited about the Maryland game this weekend. It's really going to show if this Nebraska team truly deserves to be, a top 5, top 4 Big Ten team. If they get it done against Maryland, I think they got to be at least in the top 4 in these rankings. But we got to throw it to break. When we come back, I feel like we're going to finally start getting into, the real NCAA tournament teams. We'll do that right after this break.
Garage doors can be expensive. Are you keeping yours in the best condition possible? This is Cameron Hall with Doors Plus. Doors Plus is a locally owned business that prides itself on the fast, reliable, and friendly service. Doors Plus offers flexible scheduling so you can book an appointment that fits your busy day. My team and I will come out to your property, both commercial and residential, and provide you with the necessary information you need to make sure your garage door is in working and smooth condition. Give Doors Plus a call today at 402-590-5800 to book an appointment and learn more about our preventative maintenance plans. Doors Plus, garage doors, and more.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 a.m, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning now. In our new time, we're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
If you can plan barbecues and weddings, you can plan to protect yourself from a natural disaster. Sign up for local alerts, prepare an emergency kit, and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
My early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take, but it gave my mom and me more time to plan together.
Talk to your family about seeing a doctor. Go to alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
I think it's just vapor. Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
There's really not even that much nicotine in them, right?
One vape pod has as much nicotine as 1 pack of cigarettes.
My kid
knows it's dangerous. 5.4 million American kids vape, and most think it's harmless. Get your head out of the cloud. Talk to your kid about vaping. Visit talkaboutvaping.org. That's talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it twice a day.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it in the morning and before dinner.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it, and share it with my doctor. Nearly 1 in 2 U.S. adults have high blood pressure.
That's why it's important to self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. It starts with a monitor.
Now that I know my blood pressure numbers, I talked with my doctor. We're getting those numbers down.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it.
Be next to talk to your doctor about your blood pressure numbers. Get down with your blood pressure. Self-monitoring is power. Learn more at manageyourbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association, in partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
Old School with DP and J.
DPGM. What are you going to do to Caleb Williams? What are you going to do? You going to draft him?
No.
You're not going to draft him?
No, I don't. Here's my thing. I don't want anybody to know. I'm not going to bring poison into my program because that's what it would be. He's letting you know he's poison. He's venom. Why would I put poison in my own soup?
Maybe you think you're a mongoose. You can't.
I have zero.
You're a mongoose. You can take the Cobra venom.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
How was your drive to school?
Let me tell you, I had to get my iced coffee first. I just can't seem to put it down. My favorite rapper just announced a tour. My phone was buzzing like crazy. I'm so excited. I had to text all my friends right then to talk about it. Then someone started calling me and...
Let's try that again.
I turned my phone off right away. I never drive distracted.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Back to The Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hello. Welcome back into the Daily Nebraskan Show. I'm Ben Droz, joined here still by Anthony Rubik, one of the assistant sports editors at the Daily Nebraskan. Again, if you want to text in on the show, text line is open, 402-464-5685. But without further ado, let's keep rolling on these Big Ten rankings. We only have 6 teams left.
Yep.
We're really getting into, the top tier Big Ten teams here coming up next. So who's your first team now?
Yeah, these next 6 teams, I think, are all NCAA tournament teams, or at least teams caliber of that. Number 6, I have Michigan State. I think they're a very interesting team. I mean, obviously they had a pretty bad start to the year, losing to James Madison on opening night, and they just really couldn't get going that much. Nebraska caught them at a very nice time where they were really struggling at the beginning of Big Ten play. Then right after Nebraska beats them, they go on and dominate number 6 Baylor at a neutral site. But then they still haven't really impressed too much in Big Ten play. They were one of the teams that was winless on the road until this past week. They got a road win against Maryland. It was a close game, as I mentioned earlier. They stripped Jameer Young the last second to kind of secure that win. But I mean, Michigan State, it's just Tom Izzo. They're built for March. It doesn't matter how they're playing right now. Once it's the Big Ten tournament, once it's the NCAA tournament, they're going to win some games.
Yeah, Michigan State's definitely a team to keep an eye on when the Big Ten tournament comes in. Definitely can make a little bit of a run, get in that, be on the bubble. I expect them to, kind of be a bubble NCAA tournament team. So we'll kind of see how that goes. But yeah,
it's very weird with them. It's like, because despite even all the struggles early on, they're still top 25 in any NET and Ken Pom. They're still receiving votes for the AP poll. They're only Big Ten team doing it. And I know the Matrix are on their side. I just kind of don't really understand how they're really on their side with just their schedule right now and just the games they've played.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not discrediting them by any means. They're a good team. It's just, I have them at 6. I have 2 teams above them that are nowhere really near them in those rankings.
I think 6 is, the right spot because I mean, I think it's really close between them and Maryland, really close against them in Iowa, but Michigan State's this kind of, with those rankings, when you just watch the game, Michigan State just looks like a little bit better of a team, in my opinion. Again, this is why a lot of people were thinking, the Michigan State win is going to look really good for a resume. I really feel like, that was pretty early in the season. So again, that was a big win for us. We needed that win. But I feel like when March comes and, the committee's deciding who makes the tournament, I don't really feel like that Michigan State game should take too much merit, in my opinion, because they're a different team now.
Yeah, exactly. It's two different teams from them in December and them now. And it's going to be a different team in February. It's going to be a different team in March. They just get better as the year goes on.
I mean, yeah, I definitely like those early season games. Like, yes, definitely helps to put up the wins, but like, I don't want it to be like, oh man, they beat Michigan State. That's really going to be something like
Nebraska's definitely had better wins this year.
Definitely, yeah. I would definitely rank the Northwestern win over that. I mean, honestly, looking at it, the Ohio State win might even be a little bit more impressive than that. Purdue win obviously is the most impressive so far, but yeah. But I have a feeling your number 5 team, Northwestern.
That is correct. They just got a big win tonight, obviously, against Illinois, which kind of helps Nebraska. It makes their win against Northwestern on Saturday look even better. But it was just a fantastic game. Went to overtime, and it was there where Northwestern just dominated. They really just had their way there. Scored 20 points in the overtime period. I don't think they missed a 3-pointer. And they're led by Boo Buie, who I think with the Big Ten Player of the Year, Zach Edey already kind of has in the bag. I mean,
which he was outplayed by Mass, which
he was
Player of the Year.
Ooh,
sure,
controversy there, but I think that if there's a guy for second, or there's a guy who at least should have his name up there, I think it's Boo Buie. Obviously, he did struggle against Nebraska, shot 2 of 15 from the field. So
big reason why Nebraska won.
Yep. But then again, if you look at Edey, Edey had like 16 points, but that's considered an off night on his standards against Nebraska. Really shows how good Nebraska is at home. Also, this shows how good Northwestern is at home. They've beat 2 top 10 teams now with the home court backing them. Nebraska plays them on the road in a couple games. It's going to be a big test for them. And if they're able to win in Wells Ryan Arena, that might be their win of the year other than the Purdue game.
Yeah. I mean, all the Big Ten teams have struggled on the road. Only one team in the Big Ten has a winning record on the road, and that's Purdue. That's just 3-2 on the road. Wisconsin's 3-3, so they're right there. But other than that, every single team has a losing record on the road. Hopefully Nebraska can turn that around. Coming up, they have some conference road games coming up. Maybe we could see them get closer to 500, but they're 1-4. That might be a little tough. But yeah, the Northwestern win, besides the Purdue game, was the most impressive win so far this year, in my opinion. That was they needed that win. If they would have lost, that would have been 3 straight losses. We would not be feeling as good right now if they wouldn't have gotten that win. Because, they've been taking care of business against, the lesser teams. You need to do that, but, you need some big time wins. If they didn't beat Northwestern, the Purdue game might have seemed a little bit more fluky than right now. It seems like, okay, this might be who this team is at home. But again, can they do it on the road?
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be a fun game, Nebraska versus Northwestern.
Yeah, when they travel.
Yep. They've had a great game in Lincoln. I expect a great game in Evanston. And yeah, I mean, Northwestern, they were a bubble team going into tonight. This win definitely, I think, puts them in the field, at least for now. So it's just, they're a great basketball team. They were on the same plane as Nebraska not so long ago as one of the teams that never had an NCAA tournament win. They never even made an NCAA tournament, I think, until about 2016, 2017. And then just, they've really just been able to turn their program around as of late, because they not only make March Madness every year, they usually win a game every year. So just a great team to kind of look at. Hopefully Nebraska kind of follows that trajectory.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to that Northwestern road game. What makes me, I'm obviously not going to, a road game, always scary to try to pick Nebraska. But again, that Northwestern game was not our best game. Again, we had 18 turnovers in that game. Yes, we shot the ball really good, and Northwestern didn't shoot it quite well. But I'm going to kind of tailor, I was like, if we don't turn the ball over as much, Northwestern shoots the ball a little bit better, it should be a pretty close game, and it'll be a fun game to watch.
Oh, yeah.
So let's keep it going around in the top 5, I believe.
Top 4.
Top 4. Yes, top 4. Who is it?
All right, my number 4, I think if you're going off just this week and who is hot, you could argue them for 3, but I'm going to put them at 4 for now, and I got Nebraska.
I think that's right. I think that's right. The top 3 teams are definitely Purdue, Wisconsin, Illinois, just because Nebraska really hasn't done it on the road against a good team.
Exactly. And we're were able to bounce back this week. Last week I had them at 6. Obviously, when I made that last week, they had the loss to Iowa and the loss to Rutgers.
Yeah, it was a rough week.
Yeah.
It was almost would have been rougher if they didn't beat Northwestern.
Oh, yeah. And then obviously bounced back in a great way. Northwestern game that was kind of similar to those games in the past, those road games where they had a lead, watched it dwindle by going on a scoring drought, turn the ball over a lot, but they were still able to sneak out a win. Keisei Tominaga hit a dagger 3.
Dagger.
And then against Ohio State, this really secured their spot for me. Is they just played great basketball. It was there was not many mistakes in that game. Again, they went down early, came back in a big way, and just never took their foot off the gas. Obviously, Rank Mass is playing great basketball in that last game. Hopefully, he can carry that on now.
Hopefully,
to Maryland. Again, he'll be matched up against Julian Reese, so that's a tough matchup there. But yeah, I mean,
they're gonna need him.
Yep. And then I think also they've really improved rebounding these last 2 games. They've won the rebounding battle against Ohio State and Northwestern after, again, they let up, I think, 50-something rebounds against Rutgers, 25 offensive rebounds. And they're doing it all with Juwan Gary out, which obviously
that's been impressive.
Yeah, he was a game time decision yesterday. I think he was suited up, but just didn't feel like the need to play him. Obviously, you don't want to throw him out there too early,
I mean,
especially in a game like that. Yeah. So I'm assuming maybe Gary might be back for Saturday, but he's definitely will be back sooner than later, which will be a big answer for Nebraska.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was around this point last year where injuries kind of derailed their season, with Gary getting out for the year, Emmanuel Bandamel going out for the year. But they've relatively stayed healthy, and they've really dodged some bullets with these injuries.
Yeah.
Mass had knee surgery and only missed quickly. 2 games. Yeah. Like, they've just been very lucky so far, knock on wood, but right now I have them as number 4.
Yeah. I mean, I think 4 is a good spot. Even as a Husker fan, I don't really think you could talk yourself into them being a top 3 team yet. We'll see, though. If they can pick up a win against Maryland, Illinois, or they have Wisconsin coming up, Northwestern. Like, if they can just get 2 of those at most, it would look really good for them to maybe try to push into be a top 3 team in the Big Ten Conference. But I think 4 is a good ranking, and I think Husker fans should be happy with that ranking. Top 4 in the Big Ten should easily get you an NCAA tournament bid. Right now, they're kind of projected, 9th or 8th, maybe 10th. That's kind of what the projections have them, I believe. So we'll have to see as the season goes on, because they have a tough stretch of games coming up. So it's really going to determine whether they're going to be a bubble team or, firmly secure in that before the Big Ten tournament.
Oh, yeah. If I were to tell you right now, if I were to tell you a couple months ago, Nebraska would be 15-5, 5-4 in the Big Ten.
Oh, you take it.
Squarely in the tournament field right now.
You take it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you take it. I mean, even coming into the year, you knew this is a more experienced team, one of the more talented teams. It's still Nebraska basketball. They still have never really done it before. So, yes, I would have, in a heartbeat, taken this season so far. It's been a good season. Yes, there's been some lows, but it's been a really fun season to watch. With the Purdue win, Northwestern win, beat Indiana. They were kind of losing against them. They've had some pretty solid wins this year. Had some bad losses, but it's been a good season to follow.
Oh, yeah.
So now we are into the top 3.
Yep. For my number 3, I got a team who lost to Northwestern tonight. I got Illinois. Ranked number 10 in the country right now. And the big
likely to fall.
Yep, likely to fall. And their big story right now is the return of Terrence Shannon Jr. Their leading scorer was suspended indefinitely. Suspension got lifted. He made his return coming off the bench against blanking on the team right now. Oh, against Rutgers, right. Against Rutgers, came off the bench, had a good game. Didn't have the best game tonight against Northwestern, but he's still just a massive get for this team, obviously. He's been their best player for the past 2 years now. And one thing that really stood out for me, though, is in his absence, a lot of guys stepped up for the Fighting Illini. Marcus Domask is one of them, transfer from Southern Illinois, grad transfer there. he really kind of stepped up. I kind of see it more now as Illinois, like Terrence Shannon is their 1A best player. Marcus Domask is like a 1B right there. And they have guys like Quincy Guerriere and Coleman Hawkins, who again have really stepped up. Justin Harmon was a guy who came in off the bench and has really put in some good minutes for them so far. So while they did lose tonight to Northwestern, it's kind of hurts them if they want to win a Big Ten title, if they want to win the regular season title, kind of puts them back a little bit, but nothing too concerning.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like these rankings as we get to the top definitely gets a lot easier. I think a lot of people will agree, with your top probably 5 easily, in my opinion. I think we know who 2 and 1's going to be, but dramatic effect. We're still not going to give it to you yet. Who's number 2?
Number 2 is the Wisconsin Badgers. I had them as number 1 the week Nebraska beat Purdue because the game before that, Wisconsin beat Nebraska. Same score, 88-72. So I had them at first for a week. Then they lost to Penn State. Then, spoiler alert, if you haven't figured out already, Purdue takes that top spot. But Wisconsin, they're just a great. They're a team that they might not have a superstar caliber player, but they have just a bunch of great players who know their role. One guy who has really stood out for them this week was Max Klesmit, the junior guard. He had 26 points against Indiana, including a stretch in the second half where he scored 20 straight Wisconsin points.
Wow.
And he only had 11 points against Minnesota in a game where they narrowly escaped. But AJ Storr had a double-double, 15 points, 12 rebounds. And, you have guys all over the place that can go off any second. You have Tyler Wall, obviously, Stephen Kroll, Chucky Hepburn, Nebraska guy. Obviously, I mean, Wisconsin last year really was a very disappointing year for them. They went on a run the NIT tournament, but they wanted to go on a run in the NCAA tournament.
They're going to get a chance this year.
Yeah, right now they're probably, I'm seeing rank projections have them as a 2 seed in the tournament, as a 3 seed. I totally see them finishing in that range.
Yeah, I mean, they have the best conference record in the Big Ten. They're 7-1 in conference play, 3-3 on the road, 10-1 at home. I mean, yeah, they have been a solid team this year. But I mean, there's definitely one team that stands above the rest, even though Nebraska beat them. So technically, we should be on top. But yes, Purdue, number 1 in your rankings.
Yeah, I mean, just look at kind of what Purdue is going on right now. Ever since the Nebraska loss,
4-game winning streak right now.
4-game winning streak, and they have just been absolutely dominant in those games. They've won all those games by double digits. The closest a team was to beating them was Iowa, and they lost by 14. They just played Michigan and won by 32.
Wow.
Michigan, man.
That's been rough.
I hate to see it. But then, I mean, Zach Edey also just went on an absolute tear for the first 3 games.
Oh, yeah.
His stat lines against Penn State, 30 points, 20 rebounds. Against Indiana, 33 points, 14 rebounds. Against Iowa, 30 points, 18 rebounds. He only had 16 points, still had 10 rebounds against Michigan. Didn't really need it much. They had Lance Jones shoot 5 of 9 from 3, have 24 points. So just a great shooting night for them. Really didn't need Edey to give them those tough buckets down the stretch. No. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Purdue doesn't lose a game the rest of the regular season. I think road has been a struggle for them in the past, but they were able to pick up 2 convincing road wins in some pretty hostile environments at Indiana, at Iowa. They play at Rutgers next, so potential toss-up there. I wouldn't say toss-up, but
yeah,
could be a potential trap game, as I should say. Then they play Wisconsin on the road as well, so I could see, honestly, I don't see them losing anymore. Maybe in the Big Ten tournament, honestly, probably early in March. You know how Purdue is.
Oh, yeah.
But right now, I mean, they're one of the best regular season teams every year in college basketball, and this year is no different.
I think it'd be very impressive if they finish undefeated the rest of the way. I mean, they play Wisconsin twice, play Illinois, all of them Big Ten teams. You never know. I mean, they play Northwestern. That's a team that can get hot at any point. I mean, it'd be really impressive if they do, go undefeated the rest of the way. I expect them to probably lose one more in there, probably, but it's not going to matter. They're going to be a number one seed, probably two, excuse me, at the very lowest. But with that, all the rankings are in. Purdue's 1, Wisconsin 2, Illinois 3, and then Nebraska, your Cornhuskers come in at 4. With that, we got to take it to break. And when we come back, we're going to kind of go away from men's basketball. We're going to talk some volleyball. So don't go anywhere.
Sure.
We'll be right back right after this break.
The captain, Vershawn Jackson.
Riola, the doctor, the Polynesian Bowl. He had a lot of throws. He made a couple nice throws. He threw outs. He threw a deep dig. He threw a slant that went to the house. There were so many different passes that we saw him. And he's got a little quick twitch. Is he fast? No. Quick twitch? Yes. It was good to see him moving around. Listen, he connected with, guess who?
Carter Nelson.
Thank you. We got a chance to see Carter twice. It was good for me to watch that because I think that's a precursor of wisdom.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People City Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33333% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm going to take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
Letting your children know you believe in them will go a long way toward making their dreams a reality. I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. It's important to celebrate learning, focus on the positives, reinforce good effort and determination. Children need your encouragement and support. Our public schools want every student to succeed.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them?
By their clothes,
their age,
the way they speak. Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
Ashiro's work is never done. You care for the house, the kids, and our future. We're so grateful for all you do. Now, it's time to care for yourself and save a little more for retirement. A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to boost your retirement savings now. Visit aceyourretirement.org/Shiro today.
A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
I think it's just vapor. Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
There's really not even that much nicotine in them, right?
One vape pod has as much nicotine as 1 pack of cigarettes.
My kid
knows it's dangerous. 5.4 million American kids vape, and most think it's harmless. Get your head out of the cloud. Talk to your kid about vaping. Visit talkaboutvaping.org. That's talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakimick, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide. My service never stops.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
A lot of work goes into making Nebraska, Nebraska. Keeping it green. Helping it thrive. Making it fun. Everything that goes into caring for our outdoors, from waters to wildlife, plays a big role in making Nebraska home. Learn how we help conserve our state's natural resources at outdoornebraska.org.
Paid for by Nebraska Game and Parks. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
It's still us. We're still here, right here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. It's the Daily Nebraskan Show. I'm Ben Droz, one of the sports writers for the Daily Nebraskan, still joined here by Anthony Rubik, one of the assistant sports editors. And we want to end the show, our last segment, talking volleyball, specifically pro volleyball. We got the Omaha Supernovas. They played their first game tonight. Weren't able to pull it off, but it was a 5-set thriller. The call was right here on the Ticket broadcast. It was broadcasted by DP Derek Pearson. I didn't get a chance to watch a lot of it. Anthony, I know you watched some of it.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, I don't really want to know. I was like, we're not really going to get specifics into the specific game, but what this really just means for the sport of Nebraska, the sport of volleyball here in Nebraska, not the sport of Nebraska.
Yeah, it's just awesome. It's just finally having a professional league for volleyball. Growing up, I always kind of thought that it was really absurd that there wasn't something like this. Just like I was reading about Gina Mancuso-Prasowski, who is a player on the Omaha Supernovas. She went to my high school, Papillion La Vista, was a beast there. Gatorade National Player of the Year in 2008. Played for Nebraska, was an All-American there. But she played professionally in Puerto Rico, Poland, Germany, countries like that. And it just was always absurd to me that there wasn't a place for Division I, Division II college volleyball players to go after college that was in the States. I mean, especially because, NBA, MLB, NFL, all have these leagues
NHL
that set you up out of college. So it's really awesome that there's finally a league for this. And man, I watched a little bit of the game and it was just a great atmosphere. It was at the CHI Health Center. 11,000 plus people were there. It was a great game. Omaha fell down 2-0. 1 sets 3 and 4, nearly pulled off the reverse sweep.
Made it exciting.
Yeah, Atlanta got the win at the end, but it was a great start, great first game for that league, and it's a matchup that might become a rivalry from here on out. I was seeing the preseason coaches poll. Omaha was actually they had them winning it all, and Atlanta was second with first place votes. So the two best teams in the league played against each other for the first game, and it was just a great atmosphere, great moment, and I'm really excited to watch it going forward.
Yeah, I mean, and all the games are going to be on 93.7 The Ticket streams, broadcast, all of it, all the games, and DP is going to have you covered there, announcing those games. Yeah, it's definitely different from college volleyball a little bit, but it's still really exciting to see that the pro volleyball is kind of starting to take off a little bit, especially here in Nebraska. We know how much the sport of volleyball is loved here in Nebraska. Everybody loves watching volleyball here. It was so fun to watch the Huskers make that tournament run. Weren't quite able to get it done in the national championship, but they made the national championship. Not too many of the big sports in Nebraska can say that they've been getting that far.
And that's the exciting part about it, is that it's just going to be getting stronger and stronger as years go on. And you'll get to see people on these teams. You may get to see Lexi Rodriguez play professionally in the States, maybe even at Omaha or some place like that. You may get to see Merritt Beeson and Andy Jackson, Becca Alec. They just all get this opportunity. Well, yes, there is opportunity to play professionally overseas, but the one thing I saw when looking at Gina Mancuso was just how hard it is to just culturally it overseas in different countries. Obviously, a language barrier presents itself there. So it's just really cool seeing the Pro Volleyball Federation get on its feet. And it had a great first night tonight. I'm sure all the games this week are going to go great. And it's just going to be a fun season.
Yeah, definitely going to be exciting to watch. But with that, that is all we have time for here tonight. Thank you for tuning in to the Daily Nebraskan Show right here on 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. You're not going to see us until next Monday, as we are not going to be going on Saturdays anymore. We are weeknights only, Monday through Thursday. Well, actually, we have tomorrow. I'm losing track of my day, so you get to see us one more day. Anthony won't be here tomorrow, but we will still be back here tomorrow. I got lost track of my days. But after that, Monday through Thursdays, 11 to 12. Don't miss it. We'll be right back here tomorrow night. Until then, see ya.
See ya.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the KNTK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeit. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
Ashiro's work is never done. You care for the house, the kids, and our future. We're so grateful for all you do. Now it's time to care for yourself and save a little more for retirement. A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to boost your retirement savings now. Visit aceyourretirement.org/Shiro today.
A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids. First, I hold my hands out like they're on a steering wheel. Then I look over my shoulder. Next, I put it in reverse. Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
This is how we do every day. We be grinding, and if you want to come and text us.
If you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music,
this is Mommy's jam.
then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You never think cancer will happen to you. I smoked for over 40 years. My doctor recommended that I get annual lung cancer screening. They were able to catch my cancer at stage 1. It's never too late to quit. Even if you're still smoking, you need to ask your doctor about annual lung cancer screening. Just 30 minutes a year could save your life.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.